Okay, welcome back to Tech Intent. My name is Tommy Heffernan of Precision Microbes.
Yeah, and Ryan Duffy's here as well.
So each week, as you know, we're doing a topic in under 10 minutes. And this week we actually, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, Ryan, this has been coming into us. I've had a lot of discussions with farmers and vets about, I've had an issue, so we better start. Here goes Tech Intent. Let's start now. I've had a lot of farmers and vets ring me the last 2 or 3 weeks about cows, Irish cows, going back in milk. Some are mere plus or minus scouring, rumen drops, 5 to 10% of the herds going back. It can be higher. Why is it occurring? We're going to talk about subacute rumen acidosis, but this, just to put in context, this condition or these milk drops and scours in cows, I think in the last 2 or 3 years, I'm notably seeing more of them at this time of year. Again, we'll make assumptions. We're going to cover this topic. It's an area close to your heart. You did a lot of stuff in your masters on this. I know you have a big interest in it. But we're not saying the two are linked per se, but there's a lot of commonalities. But just, I suppose, we've got these inquiries and we're going to try and look at herd level. Why are we seeing this in cows? Some of the stuff we're doing as well. So how do we link these two up then, Ryan? Or do you want to, this is subacute rumen acidosis is maybe the topic for today.
Yeah, well, what is acidosis or subacute rumen acidosis in itself? It's a reduction in rumen pH to what we'd say is non-physiological levels or abnormal levels, essentially. Okay. And it's probably a reflection of the rumen not being completely adapted to the situation and the diet that the animal is actually consuming at that particular moment in time.
Okay.
So it's manifested by a reduction in pH. We can measure that, but a lot of the time we are seeing these sort of things, and as you said, there's a lot of commonalities between the syndrome that you're describing and what you can actually get with subacute rumen acidosis. So we're going to try and line up to see what is involved there and what's not, to see if we can kind of come to any sort of conclusion ultimately.
Because people obviously, again, work with your own vet, but our nutritionist, whoever is involved in the farm in the issue. People have been talking about parasites, people are talking about unusual viruses, nutritional, which I think it is, and obviously tick-borne fever. We might cover that in another video at some stage, but you can see tick-borne fever. But these herds, one of the advantages of these herds is a lot of them are presenting with either collars or boluses.
Yeah, it's fantastic to even get this sort of information nowadays.
So people can see in real time. Interestingly, with the bolus inside in the stomach, they're getting temperatures. So no temperatures, which kind of rules out ticks. Maybe there's a virus I don't know about. Parasites have also been checked by the vets in a lot of these farms. So to me, a lot of it's nutritional. So let's link in this. When we're seeing subacute rumen acidosis, what are we seeing?
Yeah, well, again, going back to it, you're getting a reduction in your rumen pH. And what is causing that?
Yeah.
Like there's a few different forms of it. There's some that's predominantly driven by concentrates, and there's some that's driven by the grasses that cattle are grazing. But ultimately, it's a reflection of an imbalance between rapidly fermentable carbohydrates, the rate at which the volatile fatty acids that are produced are being absorbed. So do we have a rumen mucosa that's not ready for this sort of level of volatile fatty acids? And is there not enough buffering capacity actually happening? And by buffering capacity, we're really talking about the likes of saliva, although at the same time, we could be throwing in some buffering agents in there. So are we getting this balance incorrect at a particular moment in time?
So what we typically see with acute rumen acidosis is a drop, and it's usually transitioning animals. You'll see it, people are finishing store cattle. If you go too high up and you've rapidly fermented carbohydrates in meal, typically, isn't it?
Yeah, and your pH can go down to around, the lower levels of 5.5. We really want it to be in around that 6 sort of mark, 6.5. Because if we have it at a very low level, the wrong microbes are proliferating and some good microbes are being killed off. So they're not actually even able to get out of the situation. It's a very vicious cycle that can go on and go on unless the insult is removed.
Okay. What we're seeing with subacute rumen acidosis is probably more related to, because we're not seeing massive increases in meal, it's probably that transition onto grass. And if you go back, and I talked to a lot of these farmers and vets about these particular cases, what we were seeing was it was occurring with cows going to low covers, lush grass, maybe or maybe not the nitrogen that was put out earlier in the year, rapidly available with the right conditions. You got a lot of grass growth. And in some of these herds, there seems to be that commonality.
Is that something that you're seeing with these herds in particular when you're talking to vets and farmers, that it is lush grass? Because obviously there's been a few challenges out this year with grass growth in some areas. So would it be all lush grass that you think you're getting at?
Typically, what I've seen with the herds where the rumen drop, particularly where the scour and the milk drop came in again, plus or minus butterfat drop, not always butterfat drop, which was interesting. But the rumen collars really are the interesting one in this space, because you can see a real drop in rumens, crashings in this rumination. Again, a lot of work done on parasites in these, ruled out. Viruses, of course, they're always there. There's some unknown virus appearing at this time of year in all these herds. I think, to me, it's that nutritional piece, because a lot of the same things link up. So one of the other reasons is we've been doing cow trials, and we've been trialing our cow product in some of these herds who've contacted us, and we targeted the worst cows, and we've seen a response, because you can see that response from rumination. So I'm beginning to think, yeah, it's very much nutritional. But back to SARA and ruminal pH and how what's occurring as you described earlier on.
Yeah, well, if the pH is going down, we have, the pH, it's too acidic in there. So you can actually get quite ill effects on the rumen wall. So ruminitis, inflammation. Could that be driving the temperature that you're talking about?
There wasn't temperatures in these cows, all these cows.
Okay. So we could still be getting ruminitis, and that's going to affect our absorptive capacity, because we know we need that lovely mucosa to absorb the acids that are being produced by microbes in the rumen. You can get loose feces, again, as a feature of what you're talking about. It's a wee bit, up in the air as to if subacute rumen acidosis consistently causes this. It can cause immunosuppression, which is a big no-no whenever we're thinking in and around peak. Reduction in dry matter intake, that's something that we see fairly consistently across the board, and that could be largely driven by the ruminitis. It could be the fact that the bugs that we need aren't there to actually digest the likes of fibre, and therefore the cow doesn't want to take in any more fibre. But then, as you said, the low milk fat syndrome is certainly a thing that every farmer sees in Ireland in May, June, in and around that sort of time frame, because of the grass that they're on. So we know that we're already affecting the rumen microbiome with the diet that they have, let alone the fact that it could be having ill effects on it as well.
So what they were saying is milk drop was one of the big ones, plus or minus scour and these rumens, because we now have that measurement. Are these two separate things, low milk fat, subacute rumen acidosis, and this, are these all connected, or are they separate?
Yeah, again, this is probably the hard thing to link. Low milk fat syndrome is usually milk fat goes down, yield stays the same. Whereas you're saying that we're getting a complete reduction in milk production. So those two usually don't go hand in hand. And what was the other one that you said as well, Tommy? Low milk fat?
Milk fat drop, and plus or minus scours, rumen, basically a small, 5 to 10%, which is not significant. Rumen alerts on collards. If you have 100 cows, 5 or 10 cows, depending on the farm, a day alerting as severe warnings on rumination.
No, could it be linked? It certainly could be with the milk drop. Putting it with low milk fat, which is associated with your subacute rumen acidosis directly, it's probably a wee bit harder to link the two of those, because usually this is just milk fat drop, and not milk yield drop per se.
Okay, so with those individual cows, obviously I was talking to vets about this. They were treating with various things. They were getting various responses. We trialed some of our cow product, got a really good response, because you can really directly measure. We were specifically targeting farms. A lot of them have collars or boluses now. We got a good response. I suppose at herd level, what I was saying to people as well is this can be managed as well. Just remembering when you're transitioning, I think is the key thing. We were talking about this with calves before. When you're transitioning cows and you have that lower covers, lush pasture, buffering, some farms went back to buffering. Actually, 2 or 3 of the farms went back to buffering, and they've seen a dramatic difference at herd level.
Well, that sort of grass, it's rich in sugars. It's rich in these things which will drive subacute rumen acidosis. So a buffer certainly is going to have a benefit there.
What do you think when you're looking at buffers? What some of these farms are doing, putting in a bit of maize, putting in a bit of straw. Obviously, you need a diet feeder for buffering. If you don't have that, you probably need to look at buffers going through meal or stuff like that if you're severely affected. Again, we sometimes just get the problem farms, so maybe this isn't the bigger problem. But I just notice the trend on this issue is going up and up each year.
Well, even the data would say that about 11% of dairy cows in Ireland are affected by this. So, it's certainly a common thing. The features of this may be a wee bit different, but we know subacute rumen acidosis is a common thing here.
A big topic to cover in 10 minutes. We're nearly out of time. If you do want any more information about, we're doing some really interesting trials on cows at the moment. One of the things we're seeing is more consistent rumination. Actually, fertility and lameness are two things positive we didn't even imagine. But I think when you look after the rumen during transition periods, there can be less issues. Last thoughts, Ryan?
No, like I think you've kind of summed it up there. There's a lot of knock-on effects whenever the rumen's not happy. So let's keep the rumen happy.